Altcoin capitulation. Maximum pain Bitcoin season. When are altcoins going to move? I'm going to go through the mechanics of why this is important. Why most of you guys have lost out on loads of money, thousands of money, by not understanding dominance. And we're going to talk about prices, how to measure it properly, and where you can improve to get maximum gains. If you're new, like the video, subscribe, and comment if you understand it. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me know as well what you're looking to buy when this flips, because it will. Max pain at the minute, but eventually it will turn. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the markets of absolute mentalness. Bitcoin, Q4, quarterly returns, now up to 40%. Absolutely unbelievable returns. So far, it is Bitcoin season. And if you've been following my channel, you would have been perfectly placed throughout, which I'm pretty proud of, really. But we need to look into the mechanics of the market and why I've had a lot of issues over the last 24 hours on X, certainly talking about Polkadot in terms of, well, actually it's not doing anything. And it's not just Polkadot in isolation, it's actually a lot of altcoins, and I think people forget this. And we've got to look at the mechanics of it, because if you don't understand it, you don't understand crypto. The big problem you have is websites such as CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko on the screen. You know, what they've essentially done, right, which sounds a bit daft, I know. Let's go dark mode. They've allowed people to think in USD. So when I first invested in crypto in 2016, before Tether was a thing, everything was Bitcoin only. You put Bitcoin on an exchange, you swapped your Bitcoin for the asset. Now, as you can see here on the top left-hand corner, right, you've got this. This is how much it's worth in BTC. That is actually the price of this. If you put that number, and I've done this before in many videos, into Google, right, and if I change this to USD, that gives you the exact same price of Solana. Right now, you can see Bitcoin is currently correcting. Fair game, right? So what is happening here is people are just getting totally confuzzled because, oh, my altcoin's going up, I'm making money. Well, yes and no, because it's only going up because Bitcoin has done a horrendously big move, and that has caused mass bleeding, right? So we're going to go over it in more detail, right? When we get to this stage in the cycle, it does happen. This is history, right? We're going to go through it. You'll see it. Right now, this is where we are. We've talked about this many times. When we talk about the likes of inflows in the market, this is a new dynamic. Right now, it's really strong. And what we're seeing is the same behavior over and over again. And what happens is we get a thing called an alt season when Bitcoin chills out, right? Let's go to the charts. Bitcoin dominance. In the prior cycle, we did this, where dominance rose up incredibly sharply, and it caught a lot of people out, and it coincides with another chart, and I'll show you. It has happened in previous cycles too, where we have sharp, big moves to the upside, it captures people out, and then boom. That has happened twice now, right? What could happen here? We could get the same situation where we get a big run. If Bitcoin runs to 100K and altcoins don't keep up with it, we're going to get the exact same dynamic, right? We're going into a bull cycle where it's going to be choppy, it's going to be volatile, and you're going to find that a lot of things, like today, look above my head. It's all a bit ugly, right? That's kind of the tops and bottom of it, right? When we talk about the obvious here, we've got to talk about the total 3/BTC. This again there's not much data in terms of going back, but in terms of the price cycle, this just melted itself, absolutely nuked itself. This was when we had that altcoin capitulation in the last cycle. We could have the exact same situation here where we're pulled up and we could be going to go and revisit some of these old prior levels, right? That equals your BTC value in your portfolio is getting less and less and less. Where it actually turns out, well, you should have been holding Bitcoin for longer, not altcoins. Yes, I know. In the comments, it's going to be, but I've made USD. But you've lost money, right? You could have made more. That's the point, right? So that's like chicken and the egg situation I find myself in, is because when you buy, say, it's an asset at like say $10 and it goes to $20, right? Yeah, cool, sweet, I've made money. But what if Bitcoin outperforms it? You actually haven't. That's where people are like, minds are blowing, and I will show it into my examples. Solana is a good example to show you as well. So let's talk about the obvious. But before I go on to it, I need to just do something. I've added a 50% discount on Patreon for 1 month only. If you want to jump in, check it out on any plan it works out for, whatever you want to do. If you click onto it, you can buy into it. Obviously, it's priced in dollars on this screen. It's normally in pounds. But yeah, save some monies. So what we have here on the screen is Solana, right? Solana is a great example because it shows you more of a true reflection of the price. Now, this is going to blow brains, I know. The BTC pair is the true dynamic of the price. That is simple as that. So what we can see here, Solana has outperformed most of the market in the course of the last 2 years, right? But what you've probably noticed is at this situation, as Solana's going down, this USD pair on the right-hand side is going up. I know, a bit scary, isn't it? Now, Solana is a good example of you actually making BTC because you're outperforming the market and you're getting rewarded also in USD. That is what you're looking for. That is a carbon copy of you need to buy an altcoin that is actually, on most part, outperforming Bitcoin. This is why we got alt season. These little alt seasons happen in little phases and you've got to be in and out at the right times, right? Bitcoin is king. It's the overall market value. And one trick, or it might not be a trick, it might be a fucking hindrance in your case. If you've got a Delta wrap or CoinGecko or whatever, and you can toggle into Bitcoin, you've done it for a while, you may well see your overall portfolio in the mud, which could be a very, very vast, big problem, right? So currently, you can see here over the last God knows how long, Bitcoin has outperformed the market and a lot of altcoins are in the red. Let me show you another example in terms of Dogecoin, right? So Dogecoin USD and Dogecoin BTC, it has done the exact same thing, right? But when you look at this, right, this is going to scare you. If you bought, let's just say, if you bought, I don't know, on this little area here, you can see how it's kind of in tune with the market very well. Now, some assets do not look anywhere near like Dogecoin, so it's a good example. Whereas certain assets I could go back and I could look at certain time frames. So even if I go back here, right, you can see here very, very clearly how the BTC pair has dropped a lot. But in the USD pair, you can see on the right-hand side, it hasn't dropped nowhere near as much. So if I give you an example, so from this top here, so what day is that? The 11th of November, going across, it's 75% down in BTC, right? If we're going to go from the exact same date in USD, from the low to the high, it's only a 53% drop because Bitcoin has held up better. So it all depends which way you're going. Often you find you will lose BTC if you are buying at the wrong time. Now, this is another thing that will probably blow your mind. It doesn't matter when you buy. If you are buying an asset on whatever day, either or, you are exchanging money for that asset. It will have a price in BTC. So you may well find that, I know, the caveat is, well, I'm not going to be trading in USD, or I'm not going to be trading in Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is your overall wealth perspective. What would you rather have? Would you rather hold in USD at this point or in BTC? Well, it's kind of an obvious answer, isn't it? But all that is telling you is that it's underperformed. But because Bitcoin's done all right, it looks a bit better. And what irks me more than anything is when people say, oh, but it doesn't look too bad in USD. Well, no, it's not going to, because Bitcoin's done really well. Let's look at some other examples, because I think this will, eventually the penny will drop. So let's look at Polkadot. I know, controversial, but it's by far one of the worst performing assets in the top 50. It is, and that's factual. Now, when we look at the BTC pair on the left-hand screen, it has literally just completely melted. Completely, right? But all of a sudden, because it's had a little bit of a pop to the upside, everyone's got really excited about it, which is fine, but that is all mainly a contribution because Bitcoin's done a big move. Now, if you're going to compare market kind of analysis, right, let's just say, right, you bought Polkadot. This is going to hurt people's feelings, I know. Let's just say you bought Polkadot, let's just say a random number, $5, right? So let's just say, where's $5 here? Let's just say here, $5, whatever number that is, on that day, right? You are up, technically, if you bought at $5, 3.6%, right? Now, on that date, which is the 1st of, what is it, August or something like that? Wherever it was, yeah, it was about, oh, there it is. Bear with me. There. You're actually down in BTC by 23%. That is where people get confused, and that is a prime example. Now, Polkadot is not in isolation. There's a lot of altcoins that look like this. You may be break even. You may be up in USD by 20, 30%, but actually you might be down. It would be better if you bought and held Bitcoin, because you would have more. You'd have 23% more Bitcoin, which would be worth a hell of a lot more versus 3% in USD. That is the method in the madness, which I think is hard for people to grasp. So say if you're buying whatever amount of dollars versus that, just minus the amount of monies in terms of BTC, then formulate the price. That is where you will go wrong, but it might be hard for me to explain it. Let me show you in a diagram though. So here's the example in real time just to kind of showcase it. So obviously from the 1st of August, it was 803 sat, and that is equivalent to $5.12, roughly, right? So obviously if you're going to put $10,000 in, that's the amount of units you're going to get. But on the same day, 10,000 units is actually worth 0.156829 BTC. Doesn't matter regardless, right? But the method of the madness is obviously the bottom part. What is it worth today? Well, actually, if you just held Bitcoin, you would actually have made more money. That's kind of the crux of it. Now, obviously, that is just a very simple scenario. Now, if I went even further, and not to scare people, but if you've been holding altcoins throughout this entire dominant season, let me look at another example just so I don't scare people and I'm not picking on Polkadot. Let's look at Cardano. Now, Cardano, from the high here to the low, it dropped 92%. But when you look at the previous kind of high in terms of USD, from the high to the low, it has also dropped roughly 92%. But what I want to give you an idea of is the fact that it was at different point periods. That first point on terms of the USD pair, its low was actually last week. Pretty much. BTC pair was at the low of last week, the capitulation phase, which was roughly when? I don't know, when was that? There you go, 27th of October, start of November this year. However, USD pair dropped out in 2023. June 2023. Give you an idea, right? So, obviously, things are going to be different. Why? Because Bitcoin's held up better. So right now, in terms of where it is in terms of a loss, it's a lot lower. But reality is, actually, it still looks like shit. So, just to give you an idea again, if you bought Cardano, now this is going to be scary. This is what hurt me, and I'll be fully honest with you. I bought too many altcoins at the FTX crash where I should have realistically bought more Bitcoin, right? So if we're going to look at this in the crux of the mechanics of simplicity is, let's look at that low, right? Let's look at this low here. So let's look at when Cardano was 24 cents, right? Which was roughly, October. So we'd be up right now. Let's just go for there. 128%. Cool. We're doing all right. 120. We're meaning it. But when we're looking at that price again from, what was it? I've forgotten already. October period, so 4th of October 2023. Oh my God, we're all the way up here somewhere. Where are we at? Yeah. Around here. So we'd actually be down 28% in BTC. 27%, which is mad. So you need to work out which one would have actually made you more money, realistically, right? But in terms of time frames, what was the price of Bitcoin in October of 2023? That's where the problem lies. And there we go. There are the numbers. Even with the likes of Cardano, it is still showing that relative loss of 27%. I know the rough numbers, $10,000 in each is pretty remarkable anyways for some people. But this is why you got to understand it. And I think it's good to kind of showcase it. But how to kind of rectify this is actually quite straightforward. And some people you've already missed the boat. Don't just be jumping into altcoins right now. Or into Bitcoin. No, don't be jumping into Bitcoin right now. But the reality is people do forget this metric. And again, talking about stuff like this, it's huge. But this is why we talk about dominance, and this is why myself, there's other content creators like Ben Cohen and stuff like that, we've been talking about Bitcoin dominance for so long now. People just kind of think it just doesn't really matter, and everyone goes on about, well, I'm not going to make any money with Bitcoin, but I think people forget the obvious point. Bitcoin's about keeping wealth. It's wealth generation. If you are toggling your portfolio and looking at how much BTC you're making versus USD, you're going to make money somewhere. Now, what my play is overall is I want to buy higher risk stuff with my Bitcoin. Runes, for example, ordinals, right? Growing Bitcoin with Bitcoin on chain. I have altcoin positions, and I've bought them in my opinion, in pretty good places which have returns on Bitcoin. But I've mentioned in my previous video about NIA. I took some money off the table at 3x BTC because that's quite good to get. Some people are going to see a massive run, but don't get overawed by the fact that USD is going up, right? Some things just do not move, and some things will not show reflection. Now, the final point I want to showcase to you guys is, Chainlink. Chainlink's a good example of this. Now, if I look at this on both sides of the coin here, so BTC, Chainlink on the left, and on the right is USD, right? Now, in matter of fact of terms, let's just zoom out a little bit, and I know it's going to be quite hard. I'll go on the weekly time frame, so it's quite hard for you guys to see if you're mobile, but I'll try and make it as clear as possible. Now, I want to just pinpoint some obvious dates, right? Chainlink is very hyped up in my opinion, and it has been on my timeline for a while, hyped up. USD pairs and the BTC pairs look chalk and cheese in my opinion. Now, price cycle. We had a big, massive squirt to the upside very early on, and you can see here as well, before the big run. Chainlink was absolutely a dominant force, and you can see where it topped out here. It topped out on the 8th of August 2020. On the 8th of August 2020, Chainlink, in retrospect terms, was only $18. Yes, don't get me wrong, it went up to $52 on its all-time high, which is fine. But actually what realistically happened, what people forgot about, was the fact that it nuked itself down to like stupid levels way before this all happened, right? And this is kind of scary. And it didn't really give us that sort of situation. So if I look at here, right, it went down 80% pretty much in BTC value, and it didn't even have its run. It did go up a little bit back again, as you can see here on the left-hand side, but it didn't reflect the true value. If this remained up here and then it continued its run, it would have been worth way more. Way more. So the final one I want to show you is kind of a little bit of an edge so you can kind of get, and this is a great bit of kit. So when we're looking at BTC pairs and obviously USD pairs, sometimes you can find when things are going to turn early, right? Injective was a good example of this, right? Left-hand side, you've got the BTC pair, right? So if we're looking at date period, this top was on the 18th of November, I think. Yes, it was. December, sorry. So 18th of November, right? December, sorry. Gotta get words out. So it's top in there. With regards to this, the 18th of December, it actually went down, as you can see, 30%, but it actually went even higher. It went up by a further 17%, as this was dropping massively. So as that was dropping, the BTC pair, that only reflected in its price in USD because Bitcoin was doing so well. It didn't actually keep up with it. So if you're trading and you start seeing some of your altcoins are really nuking itself in BTC pair, as you know, it's been flurrying up before, it's probably a little bit of a warning time to get out. And that's happened with a number of, as I've alluded to before, with Chainlink. I think Quantstar, what's it called? Is it Quant or whatever it's called? I can't remember its name now. That was another one that did the exact same thing, where it kind of topped out massively in the BTC pair as it carried on running, but people forgot about the fact, oh, Bitcoin's running. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this video, I know. Hope you enjoy it, but realistically, what you need to do is go to your portfolio. If you've been holding portfolio management tools for a while, right, toggle what the BTC pair is on it. It might hurt.